What's up, y'all? I'm about at Bergs, Bobby. About to teach you guys how to change your oil and your clutch plates on your TRX 450R. On this bike, unlike any other bike, this bike has a motor side and a transmission side. Two different compartments would hold two different oils. You have your motor oil, which is your 10W40, and you have your transmission oil, which is your 85 weight. Unlike any other bike where a LTZ or a YSE or like a Banshee, they only have one compartment for your oil. The YSZ is a motor oil, the LTZ is a motor oil, your Banshee is a transmission oil because it's a two-stroke. It's normally how two-strokes are. Alright, so first things first, we're going to drain the oil. What you're going to need for that on this bike, the TRX 450R, is a 17mm and a socket wrench. So right here at the bottom, so what you're going to do with your 17mm socket, go under here right to the middle. As you can see, there's a hole for the bolt. Put it right on there. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Always want to go counterclockwise. Get it loose. Once it's loose, it should be free. Once it's free, you're going to want to take the bolt all the way out to let the oil drain. So right now, we're going to take our oil cap off of our transmission side where our clutch is so the oil can run through smoothly. And we're going to head to the other side and take the oil cap for the motor side, engine side, off too so the oil can flow through nice and smooth. So the next thing we're going to do is drain our transmission fluid. Where your transmission fluid bolt is, drain bolt is underneath your shifter, behind your shifter right here by your sprocket. Dump that out. Make sure you get the bolt with it. Sometimes it can be a pain in the ass, but there we go. Got our drain bolt out. Alright, we're pretty much done here on this side. What we're going to want to do is go into the back brake side and apply your clutch plates. Alright, so when buying new clutch plates, before installing them, you're going to want to let them soak in the oil for 24 hours before installing them. So now what we're going to do is we're going to remove our whole back brake lever. To do that, what we're going to want to do is take off these springs, which are fairly simple. What you want to do is get our flathead screwdriver, go up in here, don't pry, but twist. So it'll come off fairly easy. Get the whole spring off, keep it in a nice safe spot. Alright, so right now what we're going to do is get our Phillips number 3 bit on our drill. And we're going to take these 4 bolts off for your guard. 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't matter where you start. Doesn't matter where you end. Sometimes these bolts on the back, they'll start spinning with your screw. Sometimes you just got to hold them. Sometimes you actually got to get the tool to put onto the back. So as you see, this is a 8mm. So what you would have to do is get an 8mm wrench. I'm sorry, 10mm wrench to hold onto the back while you unscrew it. The guard is out of our way, so now we can take our bolt out for our back brake. Alright, so what we're going to want to use is an 8mm Allen key. Now, this one looks like someone's already gotten to, so they've kind of stripped it, as you see. So what we're going to do is re-tap it, put it in there where it fits good. And we're just going to tap it in there nice. Alright, now we're all the way in there. So we got a tight grip on the bolt. We're going to loosen, like I said, counterclockwise, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Once you're loose, you can take the Allen key out, use the other side, and take the bolt out. Alright, so now we got the whole brake off. You're going to want to leave it here because it's still attached to your brake, your master cylinder right here. So what we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to remove these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts with the 8mm socket. Kind of want to go in a star pattern with this, just so it all comes off evenly. And now all of them are off. Now your clutch plate is off. Main thing about these plates is they have a O-ring with the Hondas that you want to keep intact. That's why you don't want to pry, you don't want to mess up this gasket right here, or else you're going to have to replace it. This all looks intact, so it looks like we're all going to be good with using the same O-ring. Alright, now we got the clutch plate off, we're going to work on taking our clutch basket cover off. 10mm socket. What you're going to do is go into a star pattern to take it off, just so you don't warp. Now we got our bolts off, we're going to take our springs and our bolts off. Now we're going to take all of our clutch plates off. You might be able to get it all in one shot. You might not. Another important step to this is they have a bearing right here and a rod. You're going to leave that in there, but make sure that this is there. Another important step is there's a washer at the end of this basket. You got to make sure you keep this washer. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it on the end here. We have our clutch plates. You can tell these are bad because the steel plates right here are all burnt out at the end. You can see the burn marks on the end. Same thing with these. So we're going to go ahead and replace the steel plates and the clutch plates. As you see, they're all soaking in here. New steel plates and our old steel plates. As you can see, the wear on this, because, well, what happens when your clutch plates go bad is they all don't spin at the same time. They start slipping at different speeds. So when the slipping happens, it creates a burn on these steel plates. And, you know, when things rub together too much, they don't have much friction afterwards. So this is why we're going to have to replace these. With this last clutch plate, it could be a pain. So what you're going to want to do is have two flathead screwdrivers so you can get on both sides of the plate and pull it to you. So right now we're going to get this last ring off. We're going to get it all centered. So the main thing about taking these last clutch plates off is you're going to want to make sure that you take it off even. If you don't take it off even, it'll wedge and you won't be able to pull it. Like right now I'm trying to pull it, it's wedged. So get the back side that's in more and pull that out. So now we got the last steel plate out. As you can see, it's warped, burnt, done. It just needs to be replaced. Alright, so now we're going to evenly pull this last clutch plate out using these flathead screwdrivers. It's a little bit hard, but here we go. There we go. Got to make sure that you do this evenly, or it will get wedged in there and you won't be able to get it out. Now time to put our new clutch plates in. Okay, so right now what we're going to do is we're going to put our friction plate in first. Smallest one first, all the way in the back. Push that all the way back. Then we go next with a steel plate. And you're going to keep doing this process. So, friction plate, then a steel plate. See how it has teeth, it all fits in there. Push it nice and evenly. Then go with the friction plate. Now we're on to our bigger friction plates, which are all the same now on. We've already put our smaller friction plate in there. So we're going to slide this in, and then we're going to put a steel plate in. And we're going to put another friction plate in. With Tuss, there's no specific way to put this in. There's no front side, there's no back side. The only thing is you have to do is put a steel plate and a friction plate. Always start off with a friction plate first. Alright, now we're all done putting our new clutch plates, friction plates, and steel plates on. So now we're going to work on putting the cover on. Now we have our clutch plates all in there. We're going to make sure that we have our bearing, our rod, and our washer. This one. Make sure that's nice and tight. Now we're going to get our bolts and our new springs. First we're going to put our springs in. And we're going to put these bolts in. Always hand start your bolts. Never start your bolts off with your drill. Big chance of cross threading, and you don't want to do that, especially with the motor. Again, I'm putting them in the star pattern just so I'm not wedging it and cockeying the plate. It's got a nice tight seal all the way around. Okay, now we got all these hands started. Let's take the drill. Don't go all the way tight with the first one. Semi-tight. Go to the opposite side. Same thing. Go next to it. And go to the bottom. Up here. Now for tightening these bolts, you really want a torque wrench, but I've been doing this for a while, so I go with a couple clicks. Okay, now we got all the bolts tightened down. Go ahead and give it one more click for each one. Make sure they all feel the same. Again, I highly suggest using a torque wrench. So with the next step, what we're going to do, we're just going to clean off this blade, make sure it's all nice and clean. Just when we put the oil in there, it's got nice, clean oil. No dirt, no residue. No sand, no grit. Make sure it's got a nice tight seal. Again, if your O-ring stays intact, you do not have to replace it. So everything looks good on this O-ring. There's no bumps, there's no grooves. So now time to put it on. Again, hand start these bolts. Do not start them with your drill. Okay. Now that we got them all hand started, we're going to go to our drill with an 8mm socket. Now we got our 8mm socket. We're going to tighten these bolts. What I like to do Make sure it's sealed on there. Just give it a nice little tap. We're gonna get it nice and tight on there. Again, don't fully tighten your bolts. Just get them nice and snug. In the star pattern. Alright, now we're gonna go around and tighten them all. I give them about 3 clicks. Alright, now that's how you do your clutch plates. Now let's put the whole bike back together. Let's get our 8mm Allen key. Get them nice and snug, don't get them too tight. Always make sure the back brake works when you tighten your bolts. Now we're gonna put our springs back on. Alright, so now what we gotta do is put our spring on. Got your spring on. Alright. Now we're going to switch to our number 3 Phillips bit and put back on our guard. On to our last. Alright, now we're all done. Just time to put oil in it. She's going to be ready to run. Alright, so now we're putting our drain bolt back in for our transmission side. Like I said before, always hand start your bolts. Now that's hand started, I'm going to put it on the drill. Again, I highly suggest using a torque wrench and going with their specified torque ratio. Alright, now we got our bolts back in there. It's time to fill up the oil. Alright, so what we're doing now is we're going to get our engine drain bolt all tightened up so we can put some oil in it. We're going to use our 17mm socket. Lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. So we're going to go clockwise with it. Always do it with one hand. Never put 2 hands trying to tighten this bolt. I'd say about 15, 25 pounds where it feels like where it's tight. Nowhere past that. Before we fill up our oil, is we're going to take this oil fill level for our transmission side. To take this out, you need a 10mm. Also, be careful with this copper washer. So we're going to keep this all together. Now we're going to start filling our transmission oil on our transmission side, which is our clutch side and our brake lever side, the right side of the motor. What we're using is 80 to 85 weight transmission oil. So it's very slow oil. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna squeeze the bottle and we're gonna fill until it starts dripping. Alright, now we got everything on nice and tight. Got the oil all in here, down to the fill level. We're going to put our cap back on. And now we're going to switch sides over to the motor side. Make sure it's nice and tight. Alright, cool. So now we're on our motor side, the shifter side, the left side. And we got our 10W40. We're going to fill until we get to our middle of our low and high sight gauge. Alright, starting to get there. Slow it down. And we're going to go right in that middle. Now we got it right in the middle of the low and high of our sight gauge. You're going to want to run it, and after you run it, this might change. So add, take out oil, whatever you have to do. So we're going to put our cap on, nice and tight. And then we're going to take our oil filter off. Again, loosen both, then take them fully out. These two bolts are different. One's longer, one's shorter. This is the shorter one on the bottom side. The longer is up top. So now we're going to take this cap off. It's spring loaded, so it might pop off. Sometimes you got to wiggle it. There we go. Get all that oil out. So there you go. There's your old filter. We're going to take this off. See how the rubber side is on this side? That's how we're going to put our new filter on. And that spring is going to be put on our new filter. I'll grab the rag. So now we're going to take the spring out. Clean the spring off. We're going to go in here and clean all this nasty oil out. This hood keeps your new oil as clean as possible. Alright, so what you're going to do now is put your spring in the back of the filter. And put this filter back on there. Now, as you see, there's different ports for this oil filter. You have your one port down here, your other port down here, up here, and your port to your right side. So you're going to want to line that up. Make sure that all the are going the right way. Put that on. Again, give it a nice little tap. Get a nice seal. Now take your long bolt, put it up top. Get your short bolt, put it in the bottom. You're going to want to keep pressure on this cap because it's spring loaded, so it's going to want to pop out on you. I like just to get these nice and snug with my finger first. Alright. Now, feel nice and snug. You don't want to tighten one bolt faster than the other. There you go. Now that's nice and tight. You are all ready, and that is how you do an oil change and a clutch plate replacement. Alright, that concludes our step-by-step tutorial on how to change your clutch plates, your oil, and your oil filter. Again, follow me on Instagram at AboutItBergs. You'll find a link in the description below. Hit me up for any of your bike life needs. Again, thank y'all for watching. Y'all have a good one.